Hello and welcome to this episode of Connections Forum. And it's a forum for relationship, expression, and healing. Episode 52. And we have a special guest, Ana Hoffman. Our show offers singles episodes and short series of talks and interviews regarding the most important areas of human life, such as relationship issues, personal expression, self-development, and as well as healing of these areas. The purpose of our shows is to teach you new skills with which to handle issues which are connected with our topics. Today the topic is living abroad. Why should you do that? So this episode will be a talk between expats. Hello, I'm Margherita Crystal Lotus, and I'm a life and business mentor who lives in Kingston, Ontario, in Canada. And I help women to overcome emotional issues and relationship problems, business problems, and things related to healing. I also have a healing retreat here for my private clients called the Enchantment Healing Retreat. So now over to you, Heidi.
Yeah, I'm Heidi Hornlein, and I'm a transformational coach, also a voice coach and a relationship counselor. And I here with my husband Mark, we have a retreat for people who want to come and be in our courses, but also in form of a guest house, because this is a Paradiso Integrale is an association, but it's also our wonderful house in Italy, in Umbria. And shall we add something?
Well, I could say who I am.
Oh yeah, you could.
Yeah. And I'm Mark Davenport. I've been living here with Heidi for 3 years now. I'm an American and now living in Italy, so that makes me an expat. But I can only blame her because she would not move to the United States. No way.
Absolutely.
Fortunately, I've been to Italy several times in the past, and I can speak Italian fairly well. So I had some idea what I was getting into.
Okay, this is later when we talk about our experience. This is only presentation.
Sometimes I talk too much.
I think it's time that we go to Ana. Ana, on the other way around, she went to America. You go out and she goes to America. Mm-hmm. And I got to know her in Google+, and she is very well known in this community. She is especially known for her traffic generation cafe, where she is focusing on various ways to increase website traffic, like search engine traffic, social media traffic, networking, as well as how to convert that traffic into subscribers and buyers. And she sends out a weekly, very informative newsletter called Your Weekly Marketing Skinny. I like this name, Ana. So I would like to know, do you want to add something about yourself? This is only about your presence on Google+. There might be something else you would like to add. Also, I think at the end of our show, we are talking of our lives. Everybody will know a little bit more about us. So you have the first go.
No, this was a great introduction. Thank you, Heidi, because I listened to you and I was thinking, wow, I know all of that. That's pretty amazing. So, yeah, I guess I'll have to live up to that. But so I'm Ana Hoffman. I was born and raised in Russia and moved to the States when I was in my early 20s. And not by choice. It sort of just kind of fell into it, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it. But here I am, 18 years later. This is my home. So, you know, as Mark left, I came in. You know, we have to balance each other, right? We can't just leave the country with no people if we all go around. Yes. So, yeah. So this is home now.
Wonderful. So we continue saying this expat thing. I'm German, living in Italy, and Margherita?
I'm Swedish, living in Canada.
Okay, and we have Nazem here, and he says he would like to know when she arrived in the USA. But you said it just now. 18 years ago, is it true?
Yes. Now we're trying to figure out my age, I suppose. So I'm here.
40.
Almost. I'm getting there. 40. But I moved here in 1996. So it was sort of an interesting time in many ways because Russia was just migrating from being a communist country to adopting a lot of democratic principles, and the government was changing, the people were changing, the traditions, everything was changing. So it was actually quite interesting to be in Russia back then. I was in college, and English was my major, so because of that, I obviously, naturally started meeting a lot of people who spoke English, a lot of people who came to Russia from the United States, England, a lot of other English-speaking countries for different reasons, whether it's business or there were a lot of missionaries back then in Russia, and now too. So I kind of started hanging out with the English-speaking crowd because I wanted to practice my language. So, but that, of course, opened a lot of different doors for me. I started traveling around Russia quite a bit. At some point, I worked for an organization called International Republican Institute, and that was a Republican Party founded organization that basically sent out people to help developing countries, politically developing countries, like Russia was back then, to establish those democratic principles and establish the right voting system. So I started traveling quite a bit with them, and it was incredible. I've learned so much, and I absolutely loved it. But again, that's sort of how my expatting has begun, and I didn't even know it because,
Oh, do you see that? Nassim said, never ask a lady her age.
I'm actually quite proud. I don't feel any older, any younger. I'm absolutely happy. I don't want to go back to my 20s, that's for sure, because, I feel like a much more complete person now than I was back then. So it's all good, but thank you. So anyway, so that's pretty much how it happened for me. Slowly but surely, I was meeting a lot of different people, carving my way in life, and I was really very happy in Russia. I had nothing to complain about. That feeling in life when you feel like things are moving in the right direction and you fit in and you make things happen. I love that feeling. That's exactly where I was at that time of my life. So what happened next is that somebody offered me a job in the United States. And my reaction was no. I'm very happy here. Why would I want to move? And my roommate at the time said, are you crazy? Somebody's offering you an opportunity to go explore. It's not like, you have to move for good. You can just go. And the company that offered me a job, they gave me a way out. They said that we would love for you to come for, they said, 1.5 years at least. But give us 3 months. If you don't like it, you can go back. So that was sort of a very easy loophole for me, It's 3 months, wasn't that big of a commitment, and again, my roommate was kind of pushing. Her name was too, Margherita, so now whenever I hear the name, I'm like, oh yay, she was the one that pushed me this way. So anyway, so I decided, what the heck, right? So,
we have some more expats here, not only Nassim, who is American and lives in Milan, but there is also Dave Pipe, and he says, evening from Sussex, having been born in Malaysia, lived in Burma, India, Hong Kong, and the Philippines. That should be interesting. And now, as far as I know, Dave, you are in UK, aren't you?
Well,
so he has quite a mix.
Yep.
Oh, mamma mia. So, yeah. Margherita, for what motive did you go away from Sweden?
Now Mark's going to be very happy. It was the man, of course. I met my second husband in Sweden. He's Czech, and he convinced me that he's not going to stay in Sweden. So we got married in Italy, in Rome, actually, in 1987, yeah. And then he got more unhappy, and he didn't want to stay in Sweden. So he wanted to go to America, the first, go to the US. That's what he had planned. And of course, we didn't really found any work opportunity in the United States. But when we went there to search for work on a position that could sponsor us, then we had a lead to Canada, Toronto, Canada. And so we went in November to the States. We went into February into Canada, Toronto. And then we actually moved to Canada the 20th of April later. So less than 6 months, something like that. The whole process happened. It happened very, very fast. And so I just said yes. I just said yes and said that, wow, this is an adventure. I always wanted to go to over the pond from Europe, and I didn't imagine it would end up in Canada, but I was very glad I came to Canada, I must say.
Good, thank you. But you have already said why you are here?
Well, does that mean I'm done?
I don't know. You know that.
Mark, we want to hear your story. Why did you come? Why did you come to Italy?
Because she wouldn't come to America. That's basically it. Really. Because I didn't have any plans to do that at all, but getting involved with her and also living in a retirement community in Florida, where people were just sort of, hey, another nice day in paradise, and then, next month they're gone. I really felt, this was a chance for a big, big change. And I felt comfortable enough with my Italian to make that switch. And so it was 3 years ago I came here. 2 years ago this month.
3 years ago. Yeah, we have third anniversary. Yeah. Let me see, that is Nassim who says, wow, Dave Pipe, you beat me. Born in Venezuela, Spanish father, Turkish mother, brought up in New York, lived and worked on Miami, married an Italian and moved here based on both love of my wife and the country. So
well, there you are.
Something in common with you.
Indeed. So, yeah.
Yes, and last not least me. Mm-hmm. I came to Italy because I was already a classical singer in Germany, but I thought that was not my voice. And I thought Italy would be the country of the great singers, And so I came here to study. And after a while I discovered that they don't know how to sing either. Or you have a voice or you don't, but the real study, they don't know. And so I came into the country where we are now, and there, for the first time in my life, I had this opportunity to put out whatever sound I wanted without anybody feeling disturbed, and then I discovered singing myself. And then, I just stayed here. It was too nice, Italian weather in comparison to German weather.
Not great tonight, though. No.
Okay, so let's go on and ask Ana about your experience. How was it at the beginning? And yeah, let's first go in the beginning, and then what made you decide to stay?
Well, in the beginning, I hated it. I really did. So I went to college in St. Petersburg, which is one of the biggest cities in Russia. It's absolutely gorgeously beautiful. You ladies are from Europe, so you know how those beautiful historical cities look like. There's so much to do, so much to see. It just gives you the special vibe of, I can't believe I live in something so beautiful as that. So when I moved to the States, I moved to Colorado, Boulder, which is a small college town. Well, at least it was back then. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong. Beautiful mountains, rocky mountain range. but it's just so very different from St. Petersburg. I never owned a pair of sneakers until I moved there. I had no idea what hiking was. I actually had to look it up in the dictionary because we don't hike in Russia. We wear, high heels and look pretty and go to theaters and watch ballet and talk about culture and music and, all of this stuff. And all of a sudden, I end up in a college town where everybody wears torn jeans and play, sit down on dirt floors and play guitars and smoke weed. Go to college and flunk classes, those kind of things. So it was just completely different from anything I was used to. On top of everything else, I didn't have much money, which it's never a good idea, right? So in Russia, my business, so I was doing a lot of translating, interpreting. I was being paid pretty well by Russian standards. And then I moved here, and all of a sudden I can barely afford a roof over my head. That's, didn't love it. So there were many, many reasons why this was not a good fit for me. And so I told my boss, hey, you said 3 months. I think I'd like to go back home. He said, okay. So we were starting to work out all the details, getting the plane tickets. Then, of course, you girls are going to love this. I met my future husband. Yeah.
That's how things go, isn't it?
Right. So it just happened. So, okay, so I don't work out at all, ever. It's not my thing whatsoever, but that particular time in my life, I decided I'm going to learn how to do it. New Year's, of course, New Year resolution. I went to a gym close by, and I said, I need to brush up my knowledge about workout machines. That was my first time ever at the gym. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, let me find someone to help you. And she calls my future husband and says, Molly, can you please help her to learn some more about the equipment? And of course he said, but of course. So that was pretty much it. 2 months later we were engaged, and 4 months later we were married, and we've been married for 18 years. So
almost as quick as we, huh?
I know, that was very quick. But you know what? It worked. For us, fortunately for us, it worked. But that's how this became home. Very unexpectedly, very against my will in so many different ways, but it's pretty much home now.
Wonderful. There is Aline, and she says, hello from France, where I was conceived. And she says it to Dave Pipe. She lived in Canada for 26 years and 18 years in Saudi Arabia. She is married with a Pakistani, traveled the Far East, Middle East, Europe, America, really identifying as a global citizen. Hello, Aline. Welcome here in the Expats community. Yeah, Margherita, you?
Yeah, so I have a question for Ana. So how did you experience the different customs, mindsets, the lack of sort of culture? Because that's what I experienced, the lack of culture when I came here. It was. How did you experience that?
It really is not. It's not an ideal situation, right? Because usually you want to move somewhere where it's better than where you lived before, right? And in many ways, moving to the United States improved my life from practical point of view. But then again, it took away a huge chunk of me that was really irreplaceable in many ways, because up to this day, after living in this country for so many years, I'm sorry, but ballet in America is just never the same. I mean, I cannot watch ballet here, even if it's a Russian production of some sorts, because it's still not the same. You don't have this incredibly amazing theater in the Hermitage Palace. You don't have the setting, you don't have the feeling, it's just the heart is not the same. So I miss that part dearly. You can't replace that. So another thing that I haven't mentioned yet, we did live in Germany for 3 years in the middle of our marriage. So when we lived in Germany, it was like, it was incredible because we traveled so much. We watched operas in Austria and Budapest and Czech Republic. I mean, you name it. I just kept soaking that in because I can't get it here. So things are different, you know, and that's the thing about moving to a different country. You can never. That's one of the reasons why a lot of you guys do it, right? For the sense of adventure, not to necessarily repeat the same things that you've experienced in the past elsewhere. Then why just not stay there, right? It's the different experiences. It's the molding of who we are and making ourselves into a different, hopefully better person with those experiences. So do I miss it? Yes, absolutely, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I can really connect with what you're talking about, the Hermitage, because I went to then Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, and I've been there. I don't know exactly what you're talking about. And of course, in my home country, we have very old buildings. The opera house is like, you know, it doesn't exist on this side of the Atlantic. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist at all. And for me, it was like a shutdown in my head. After 4 months I was here, I just got a nervous breakdown. I came back quite fast, but it was like my ego is too big to think that, yeah, it should be the same thing as I had at home. And I was 33 years old, so I was maybe a little older than you were when you came here, Anna. So it's harder when we go later, right?
Possibly.
This is possible.
But, you know, again, so how did you deal, Margherita, with it? Besides going back very quickly, and you know, how do you feel about it now?
Well, it's that initial thing was a total shock to me. It was total shock. I thought Sweden was the best country in the world. I mean, I think that Sweden is a very good country, but to say that it's the best country, I have adjusted that because I realize that each person coming from a country, when they're born and they have grown up there, they are automatically indoctrinated to think this, and it's not at all true. Each country has their good sides and their sort of not so good sides, and so I have come to appreciate the different kind of freedoms I have in Canada versus in my country. In my country, it's like you have to follow all the rules. You have to do all the regulations. And here in Canada, it's a little bit more freer. If you want to start a business, go ahead, you know. You don't have to get a license from some kind of trade organization for doing it. So that's what I loved about being here. And also the taxes are much lower here in Canada than in Sweden, which is one of the highest tax countries in the world. So when people complain about taxes and this, what you put on when you sell things, sales taxes, it doesn't match at all because it's just so low compared to where I was used to.
Yeah, what you are saying, Margherita, and also Anna, I think is a very important thing which we should mention here, that we normally think our own countries, this is the right thing, and all the others are a little bit defected versions of our own country.
Rather like I thought when I was 18, that other people were just defective copies of me.
Yeah. So this is the tendency, and when we are really living our whole life in that, you know, it is very difficult to come to an understanding of the world, of other people, of the countries. So one of the best things is to go and live in another country and to see how it is. It opens up your mind. You understand. I can tell you a thing what go away from the microphone, please. When I came to Italy, they say, io faccio il medico. I do doctor, and not I am doctor. In Germany, you are a doctor. It is identity. And if you cannot work as a doctor, then, oh gosh, you know, it's depression and insatisfaction. While in Italy, you do a doctor or you do a teacher, and when you cannot work in your profession, you do something else, and your identity is not threatened. So I thought, oh, look at that, how differently different cultures see themselves, you know. And there are many examples. I just say that, but
that's a very interesting distinction. I haven't experienced that, but that really does make a lot of sense. And the way that the set of values that are either, you know, raised in us as our parents raise us really does determine who we are in many ways. But I think that's the beauty of living in a different country as well. The fact that living abroad allows you to kind of break up those in some ways regimented values that were imposed on you growing up, and just see what the possibilities are around the world, you know. And we're all learning that there's really, in most ways, there's no right or wrong way of doing things. It's just a different way of doing things, and adjusting ourselves to different cultures, I think, just is a tremendous way for us to learn more about ourselves, become more flexible, and more accepting of others as well.
absolutely.
I totally agree with that too. That the judgment of other people, it goes away, and I feel that I have changed for myself the view of other people. I'm more open-minded, I have to say.
Well, the changing the view of other people didn't happen quickly, because the previous times I'd been here in Italy, I was here for short periods. I was visiting, or you know, relatively short periods, maybe a couple of 3 months, something like that. But then living here, then there was, oh, there's this whole reality that I never had to deal with before. And there was some judgment going on at that point because, getting my permission to stay here was an ordeal. How many trips did I have to make, you know, to not the next town, but the other big town further away, you know? And how many times did I have to get this document translated, you know? 100 euros each time, you know, blah, 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 things like that. Of course, Italian bureaucracy, nobody beats the Italians. They invented bureaucracy.
Yeah, but when we had to do with his American bank, it was worse. And still you cannot do what we do here, money transfer by internet from one country to the other with the IBAN. No. In America, they send a check here. What do I do with an American check here? You know, it seems to me so strange that there is not a possibility to transfer money from one bank to another one, only by, you know, it's so far what I heard. I was shocked about it. I thought America is the big country where everything works.
You didn't give me a chance to say that, did you?
Oh, no.
I was going to give America, you know, the same treatment you just did.
Okay.
Exactly.
Are you having an argument over there?
This is about as bad as it gets, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's very enlightening, you know, the two countries come together, the German, Italians, and the Americans.
It was really amazing, though, because some transactions were so simple here and others so difficult. And in America, it was the banks, the banking institutions that made things difficult. The government communicates with me in plain, simple, direct English, you know, in big print in case I can't see it, you know, and small words in case I never got past 6th grade, you know, and And this is so unlike what happens here in that regard. So there are real trade-offs, you know. And I wondered about the regimented life here in Italy of so many people who are born and raised in the same place and don't really look beyond the borders of their town almost.
This is everywhere, I would say.
That could be everywhere, but I wasn't one of those, you know. And so it took me a long time to appreciate the kinds of intelligence and inventiveness that Italians have in terms of, you know, making do with what they have, of building stuff out of whatever is available, of finding ways for the government not to know what you're doing, because that's bad news. And so these are all necessary and intelligent skills to have. So I feel much more comfortable with allowing things to happen the way they have to happen here. And it's not bad. It's not bad.
This leads us into the next question. Why are you still staying where you stay? Me too. I mean, us too.
Yeah.
Anna.
I don't think she heard you.
Muted.
I just, I needed to unmute myself before I spoke. Because my husband is here. His life is here. He doesn't, well, he does speak some languages. He thinks he speaks Spanish and Italian, you know, but when we go to Italy, he can probably say a joke or two, but that's about it. Anyway, we can't go back to Russia because I don't think he could do very well there professionally. He's an attorney. He doesn't speak any Russian. It's just not feasible for us. For me to go back to Russia, for instance, take my business back to Russia and support us with my business, probably not quite the same either because, first of all, this is interesting. So because I moved here quite a while ago, and because I don't have any Russian friends, I don't speak Russian on a regular basis here in the States. I talk to my family occasionally. That's the extent of my Russian practice. I can't speak Russian freely and use it to discuss different topics. For instance, blogging. I can't blog in Russian because, and ladies, you may be able to relate to that. So when you start, when you learn a concept abroad and you learn it in a foreign language, you don't necessarily have the vocabulary. That's simple. You know, the vocabulary to translate, to put it in your own language and present it to people so that they can understand the concept. So that's exactly what happened to me. I learned everything I know about online marketing here in the States, and it was all in English. So even if I try to explain to my family or my friends what it is that I do, I really can't because I don't know how. I don't know what, I mean, thankfully, I know that internet, the word internet, is still the same in Russian language, but that's about the extent of it, you know? So there are very few points that I can't take my life the way it is, even though it's online and it's very, you know, movable. I just can't take it to Russia. So that's why we choose to stay here. And now that we have a daughter, she's 7, I've learned very early on about her because even though she's 7, this is the 3rd place in her life. She is living right now in San Francisco Bay Area. So we moved 3 times before the age of 7. So I've learned that she does not like moving at all. It's just not her cup of tea. So taking her out of the country and making that drastic of a move probably would not be the best choice for her. So, you know, for all different reasons, we choose to stay put because this is familiar, this is home, we like it here. I love visiting other places, but I probably wouldn't want to move elsewhere. For instance, my husband did have a few job opportunities in Germany. And as I said, we have lived in Germany, so we've lived there for 3 years. It was great. We had a great time. But as Mark noted, you know, it's very different when you're visiting a place even when it's like long-term visit, like for us it was, but you know that you'll be going back. It's a very different mentality because it's an adventure. You know, you are there to experience, to make the best of it. And if there are things that you don't love, that's okay because you'll end up going back anyway, right? But when you move with an intent to put some roots in, even if it might not be for the rest of your life, but the intention is completely different. You treat things differently. So, yeah, probably not for us. I think we're kind of staying put at this point.
Mm-hmm. Margherita, how is it for you?
Yeah, I just have come to love Canada, and I'm happy that I came here. Although my mother and my family in Sweden, they beg me every time we talk, can you not come back? We're missing you so much. And I'm an oldest of 5, and I have maybe 50 cousins or something like that, and many nieces and nephews. So that's what I'm missing, to see my family. So I go back most every year, and that's how I have coped with that. And I don't know what's going to hold in the future, because I feel like, you know, the thing about possessions, like houses and items and things, I'm sort of in a stage of trimming down all of that unnecessary trim things, because I think that the life should be more simple and down to earth. And if that happens a little bit more, maybe I can move anytime to any place and still be happy. But this Canada is a good place to be safe. It's people are nice here. There is not like so much crime. I don't feel there is so much crime here as it is in a big city in the U.S. You know. So, does that answer your question?
I think so. Shall I say first why I am still here? First of all, I like the weather. Also, it has changed lately. It's not as nice anymore as it was. There are some days which you don't see any sun, and that didn't happen before. And this summer, it was really cool. I like the cooler summer, but it has disturbed almost everything. No olives and, you know, all these things. So times are changing. Weather is changing, so maybe it's not the reason for staying in Italy. The other thing is I really like the landscape, the beauty, which is here. And then I have put about almost 30 years of my energy in the house we are having here, so it's sort of difficult to leave it unless I find some crazy person who wants to buy it for quite a bit of money. Then I would go. But where would I go? This is the other question which I want to ask you then. I don't feel any more German, you know. And as you said, Anna, many things I don't know about Germany anymore. I don't know many, you know, how people talk on the street nowadays. I don't know all this language thing, and I don't know that politics and what is interesting to them. I see a little bit on Facebook, but it's different when you are far away. You are not anymore inside. So when I go back, if I go back, I would be a stranger in my own country. And how would that feel like? So I'm not yet sure if I would. But I think Germany would be the only, or maybe Boulder to all the integral people. This would be a possibility for America, but not Los Angeles or something like that.
You have to tear your jeans and wear sneakers.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
Smoke pot.
Oh, I will see if I get into them, into the jeans.
All right.
So it's your turn.
It's my turn. Well, if I got back to the United States, at least I could have peanut butter whenever I wanted. You know, but food is something that came to my mind immediately about the thought of going back. You know, I used to eat out of supermarkets without much thought, going up and down these aisles, throwing cans and boxes and things from the frozen food department, you know, in the basket, and never giving it much thought. Occasionally something from produce, but usually I bought frozen produce, you know. Peas, beans, things like that, frozen. And we don't do that here. And I've learned, that there's a real difference in eating food that isn't so processed. It's a completely different experience, And it would be really, I know I could find a health food store, and pay double prices and, go out of my way to find it and so forth. But just the culture that just sits down with various kinds of fried corn flour something or others and crunch, crunch, crunch if we watch television. That's horrible food. That's terrible stuff to put in your body. And my body's getting to the point where it needs all the help it can get. And I get that help here. I didn't get it in the U.S. I was in that consumer society and just taking what was offered to me. Not so.
You're doing it here too, because the fresh fruit and vegetable is offered on the market. Tomorrow morning is our market day where we buy everything. Mm-hmm. Before I grew my own vegetables, this was even better. But now I'm always online trying to figure out how this life works online. So no time anymore to grow the salad and be angry on the snails when they eat it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, for you told me once when you go back now after this time living here, you see America in a different way.
Oh, I certainly do. Because my brains are very plastic, and what was normal isn't normal now. I'm creating a new normal for living here, and so going back, there's a clash of cultures. There really is, and I see friends visit my family in hometown, and they've been there forever, and I'm not sure what to talk to them about. The things that they bring up are topical things that I don't know anything about. I have a friend who I've known since high school, and when I get back to the States, I generally look him up, and he talks about local politics and even the national politics. They just don't make much sense to me anymore. It's becoming a foreign country in itself, and that's just after 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here.
I wonder, Anna, how do you do with food? Do you miss food from your country?
I do, very much so. I completely could relate to what Mark was saying, because in Russia and throughout Europe, really, the food is much more natural and flavorful, because we use, very basic spices to bring out the best of the food. We don't need to, make it hot and spicy to cover up the fact that it's very bland otherwise. Unfortunately, food here, that's what I find exactly what they do. There's no flavor. It's just very, that's a lot of heat. So in Russia, this was, when I first moved here, I hated going grocery shopping, because in Russia, you go to a store and there is butter, right? It's one kind of butter. It's natural from a cow. You know exactly what's in it. Then you go to the grocery store here, and there are 17 kinds of butter. And there's salted and unsalted and fake and this and that. I mean, it's just overwhelming how many choices we have here that we really could use, a few of. So I do miss the cooking in Russia. I don't cook Russian food here all that much, because I find it that the ingredients are so different that even if I try to make something Russian here, it just doesn't taste the same. It's not the same. So I kind of gave up on that. But every time I go home, it's like heaven. I love it.
Me too. Some German things. I mean, there are much more things now here we can buy, because the German supermarkets have expanded to Italy too. So some of the things we get here, but at the beginning I was missing so many things of my country. When I came home, I had to eat all this stuff. Now, where is home? Where is home?
Where's home?
What, shall we end with this? We are almost at the arrived. where is home, and how do you project to see your life from now on? I mean, home in the sense you said it, Anna, that you are there for several reasons, but where is home in your heart?
Definitely here, and but it's home is really more than location. It's pretty much is where my family is, and my husband and my daughter are that at this point. My husband was in the military for a number of years. Actually, he got in after we got married, and that's one of the reasons why I've moved around so much in the past. And because of that, we grew so close together that it didn't matter location-wise or culture-wise what was and wasn't available to us, because we kind of have this very tight bond. And you know, he's truly my best friend and my home away from home. So in the end, the bigger answer would be it really doesn't matter where we end up, because you know, somehow I have a feeling that San Francisco Bay Area is not going to stay here for us for a long time, because my husband has that nomadic kind of tendency, you know, and plus he always thinks that the grass is greener on the other side, so he's always looking for the next job, the next opportunity. So location-wise, it really is, it doesn't matter to me as much as it does to most people. In some ways, I do kind of envy people who have a home. You know, they have a sense of the deep roots. This is where they grew up. They've lived their entire life. They know everybody in the community. They belong. I don't think I ever had that, and I kind of would love to. I'd love to experience that, but at the same time, I just don't see that happening for us, and that's okay. So home is here physically for now, but in a bigger sense, home is really with my family.
I can so relate to what you're saying there, Anna, because when I grew up, I was a very shy girl, and I didn't really connect with my classmates in the lower grades, and then we moved to another city, to Stockholm from Uppsala, and then I got uprooted anyway. And when I came to Canada, it was the first time where I actually could connect with other women, connect with people in a deeper way, which I couldn't do when I was living in Sweden. It's something really odd there. So I feel that what I didn't have from Sweden in friends and stuff like that, it made up for when I came here. Because people are much more open here, I must say. Swedish people are very conservative. They're holding back, and you have to really know somebody for a very, very long time before you can actually say that you're their friend. And here, it's much easier to make acquaintances and open up conversation and live a little bit freer. So if I'm going to answer the question, I think wherever I am is my home. Wherever I am is my home. I learned that, and I think that's a very, very good lesson from actually moving around, that actually this is true.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. I noticed here there were a lot of comments which I have not noticed before. So it's Aline. She can relate with the difficulty of translation of concepts, what Anna said. And she said, Mark, you haven't yet experienced the French bureaucracy. I do not wish it upon you. Okay, there are many others. We just don't have any more time to do that. I would like to ask you where your home is now.
Well, you know, Anna, you really hit it, I think. I can be at home anywhere as long as I'm at home with myself, you know. Then wherever I am is going to be okay, because it's coming from the inside out. And I have learned that not just from living different places. I've learned that just through my own maturation and development, that most of the problems around me have their origin within me. And And so, whether, if we should end up in Germany, I'm going to be all right. If I have to go back to the U.S. for some reason, I can adjust. It won't be the same. Things I'll miss. Some things will be a lot easier. They have a lot of easy buttons in America. Just push a button and it happens. But,
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's all right.
We don't have easy buttons here,
No.
not at all. When Mark came first here and we didn't have heating and we have the fire here, and he had to bring the wood. He was, huh? Where can I switch on the heating? I mean, this is not characteristic anymore for Italy. It was characteristic for Italy that they have had the open chimney places. We have a closed one and it really heats up the whole place, while the open chimney didn't heat up the place. The only thing, when it gets cold, it is a sign for you have to put some more wood in. That's the problem.
I have to put some more wood in.
Me too. So, okay, my home, I think it's very much related to this house where I've put so much energy, and all my money which I ever have earned is in this house to finish it, to create it, to do everything to maintain it, because it's a very big house, and I'm happy if guests come and give us some money for staying in bed and breakfast or for a retreat. So I'm quite identified with it, and it would be a little bit difficult to go away because it's a long time. It's more than 25 years that I'm here, and really was all up to me, the changes which I did. And so I really feel in my castle, let's say, not only in my home but in my castle. But tendenциally, I agree with what you say. Tendency, I could live everywhere and feel well. It only takes this process of letting go from, let's say, the objects. And I had planned that also for my security, old age security, because here in Italy, I don't know what you get, if you get anything, but the pensions which I get, it's not good for to live, and not it's too much for to die. But so I thought this house would sort of save me. This is security, one of the basic needs. So my home at the moment is internet, and that's where I got to know you, everybody, and also our viewers. And please stay connected in the internet. This is our big global home now.
It is.
And thank you so much that everybody you have watched, and to you, Anna, that you came and talked with us about this topic, which is so, how can you say, akin to us? How do you say?
Akin,
so
yes.
To us all, and we are a little community in the big community of the expats.
Okay.
So thank you very much, and next week, Margherita.
Yes, the next week we're going to talk about the February blast with Eileen Niederby. So join us next week at 10 a.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, we go back to the normal time, which we normally use for the Hangout show. So thank you.
You make it for me.
So nice to meet you, Anna.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. Good to share.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.